Hello and welcome to another episode of Smokin with Scotty. This episode is being brought to you by Butcher Block Custom Meats and Mobile Butcher. I know hunting season is just around the corner, so when you've got your game and you need to get it processed and you want the meat cut just the way you want it, be sure to talk about Butcher Block Custom Meats and Mobile Butcher. They'll come out, they'll get your meat cut up just the way you want it, and I promise you, you're going to be happy. So today here on Smokin with Scotty, we're going to be making a smoked pork loin. It's a great meal that you can fix for the entire family. Everybody loves a nice pork loin, so let's get started. First thing we're going to do, we're going to talk about rubs, okay? And we're going to talk about seasoning. One of the things that we're going to talk about is salt and rubs together. I prefer to make my rubs without salt because I'm a little bit of a control freak when it comes to my seasonings. So what I do, I salt the meat separately, then I put the rub on. That way I can get the salt level just exactly like I like it. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to put a little bit of salt on the meat here. I've got the fat side up right now, and we're going to do a little something different with the fat side. We're going to be actually putting it face down on the smoker. And the reason we're going to do that is because my heat source comes from the bottom on my smoker, and I want to make sure that we protect any of the meat from any excess heat. So that fat cap, that's going to just make a really nice addition and a nice protection. So here's my rub today. Got a little bit of smoked paprika. It's got some oregano, some marjoram, got a little bit of garlic in there, and just a touch of cinnamon. And so we're going to make sure that we got a really nice covering of the rub, because we're going to want to make a little bit of a bark with this as it goes into the smoker. So this rub is going to help make that bark and that crust, and of course it's going to give it a delicious flavor. So I think that's about right where I want to be on that. And let me go ahead and grab a fork. So I want to get this flipped over. I want to do the other side. Also, something to note, I want to make sure that you get all the ends with a little bit of that rub as well, because I guarantee you that's going to be my favorite cut right there. So we'll go ahead and flip that over. I'm going to make sure I got this side all taken care of, and then we're going to go put this bad boy on the smoker. We're going to talk a little bit about heat, and we're going to talk a little bit about internal temperature when we get out there. Get this all salted up, and I always like to use kosher salt. It does really well when you're doing smoking. It helps to get your temperature or your moistures exactly where you want them. Draw some of that out. Make sure you get a good bark, and of course it penetrates the meat really well. We'll go ahead and get our rub, and I'm going to go pretty generous with my rub on this side. As you can see, get plenty of that rub on there. That's the good stuff right there. And you can make your own rubs. You can buy some rubs too if you want to. They have plenty on the market. Just, kind of whatever your taste is on the rubs, you can just go ahead and make your own, or like I said, buy it. So there you go. We've got it all rubbed up, ready to go. We'll meet you out at the smoker. And here we are out at the smoker, ready to put this wonderful pork loin on. So today we're going to be smoking at 225, and we're going to be looking for an internal temperature of 145 degrees. Now, I know the USDA used to say 165. They have revised that now, and pork is good at 145 degrees. And I tell you, it makes a big, big difference where it comes out so tender and so juicy. So here we are on the smoker. I'm smoking with mesquite wood today. It's just one of my favorites. You can smoke with whatever you want, but yeah, it's just one of my favorites. And of course, we're going to want to make sure that we get our probe inserted so that we can get that internal temperature right where we want. And I'm going to be monitoring that from the inside while I'm having a nice tasty beverage. And here when this hits about 145, we're going to be right back. Well, here we are. It's been about 2.5 hours and our pork has come to 145 degrees. So what we want to do is make sure that we rest that, because during that cooking process, that moisture has come out of the meat fibers, and we want to give it time for those meat fibers to kind of relax and that moisture to go back in, so that when we cut into this, it's going to be a really nice juicy pork. So my cooler is temporarily out of commission. Normally I would wrap it, put it in the cooler, and call it good. So today we're going to go ahead and put it in the oven. We're just going to give it a little foil tint, and then we'll put it in the oven. So I don't want to wrap it really tight because I don't want it to sit there and steam, but I do want it to maintain some of that heat so that it cools off relatively gently. And that's what's going to make for a nice juicy piece of meat. So you see, just grab the foil, make that little bit of a tent. Leave it loosely covered, and then we're going to go right into the oven that is going to be, I'm going to heat it up to about 150 degrees. Then we're going to leave it at that, and then just turn it off, let it cool down. Leave this here for about an hour, and we're going to be right on. So look forward to seeing what it's like when we cut into it after about an hour. And here we are. We have let our meat rest for an hour, and it's ready to go. But before we cut into this, let's recap how super easy this is to do a smoked pork loin. First thing we did, we got the meat thawed and ready to go. We salted the meat. We put a rub on the meat. Took the meat out to the smoker, put it on at 225 degrees until it was 145 internal temperature. Brought it in, kind of loosely covered it, put it in the oven. No heat in the oven. I just warmed it up just a little bit so it could settle down really gently. And then here we are ready an hour later to cut this out. So you can see something super easy for your family, and the benefits are just absolutely amazing. So let's go ahead and get into this and see what we got. Look at that. Absolutely perfect. You can see the smoke ring. You can see the meat inside is still juicy. So this, here we go. Time for my favorite part, where we get to try the meat. It's absolutely perfect. It's tender, it's juicy, it's got the smoky flavor in it. You can get the rub, you get the spices from that. It is absolutely delectable. Super easy to do, super quick, and the benefits are absolutely amazing. So thank you again for tuning in for Smokin with Scotty, brought to you by Butcher Block Custom Meats and Mobile Butcher, asking you to wait till 2 weeks when we have our next episode where we're going to be doing some tri-tip. We'll see you at the smoker.